Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Riderflex podcast. Along with our daily tips on career advice, our show features entrepreneurs, business owners, executives, and influencers from all types of industries, sharing their stories, providing advice based on their experiences, and chatting about their companies. If you're interested in being a guest on our show, you can email us at podcast@riderflex.com. And if you like today's episode, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and give us a quick thumbs up. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Try the #1 marketing platform for small business. Everything you need from design to marketing to CRM. Learn more at marketing360.com. Marketing 360. Fuel your brand.
So, Nick, thank you so much for being on the Riderflex podcast. We were talking a little bit here before we started recording. We know a lot of the same people. A lot of the folks from Titan 100 have been on the show, and other folks, So I'm happy to have you on. Thank you, sir.
Yep. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it, Steve. Good to meet you.
Before we get into Edison Interactive, I want to know about Nick the person. Talk to me. Family, mom, dad, siblings. Give me some stuff. Go for it.
Yeah. So. I was born in Aurora, Colorado. I was a sports guy through and through. I always say that my first love was lacrosse, right? And I ended up playing at Colorado State University, which were just incredible years of my life, right?
Cool.
When I look back at all my years playing lacrosse, they really instilled a lot of great values. Being able to set clearly defined goals. Working with an entire team of people who are collectively relentless about going after those goals, right? So, a lot of those years really shaped who I am. I owe a lot to who I am for my lacrosse years. But I had an interesting upbringing. My mother and my stepfather moved to China when I was a freshman in high school.
What?
Yeah, Beijing.
You went with them?
No, I stayed here. Here. So,
all right.
Although I was living in Aurora, I was playing lacrosse, I was going to school, I started spending a lot of time in Beijing, and the culture just fascinated me. So when I got to CSU, I studied Chinese all 4 years when I was at CSU, as well as business. And then I lived out there for a few years after college, and just to immerse myself in the culture and the language. But it was just an incredibly challenging place for me to live. I mean, talk about like next level culture shock, right?
Right, for sure.
So I came back to the States. I took a couple early sales roles. I excelled at them, but I always had that entrepreneurial itch, and I wanted to live in warm weather, right? I mean, like the winters in Beijing are pretty brutal.
Are they? Okay.
Oh yeah, they're pretty bad. So, when I was 25, I packed up, moved all my stuff to Scottsdale, Arizona, started my first company, all digital circulation. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I met my beautiful wife, Noelle, out there, and really kind of put me on the track that I'm on today.
Let me back up just a little bit. When you were a freshman in high school, you stayed here, but your parents or your mom and your stepdad, but who'd you live with?
So I was a lot on my own, be honest with you. I had my oon car, I had my own apartment.
What? As like a freshman and sophomore in high school, you had your own apartment?
I was 14. A lot of the guys that I played lacrosse with in college called me man child, because when I got to CSU, I was 16 when I started at CSU. And I'd already been on my own for a while, right? I mean, like, I got support from my family and stuff, right? But like, I was heavily on my own for a lot of those years. But the story, I always tell a funny story. My first week at CSU, I was driving my car. I was 16, but I had gotten a ticket when I was 14 and a ticket when I was 15, as if somebody was like driving in the car with me. So I got a speeding ticket and lost my license at 16. So, it was challenging. Like, it was, I had an interesting upbringing, like I said, but, I think that, those challenges and those, barriers really set me up for success in the future, in my opinion.
Did you lose your license for a year? Was that a year penalty? What was that?
A year deal. It was a year, but I was at CSU, right? So like, you don't really need a car, ride around with your buddies.
Did you so you graduated high school early?
I did. I graduated high school when I was 16.
So straight A type student, you were one of those guys, huh?
Yeah, I was a good student. I really enjoyed, school and lacrosse, and, really kind of latched onto those, and yeah.
Meanwhile, you had your own apartment at 16. So the parties were at your house, obviously.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There was no shortage of those, Steve. But yeah.
I mean, if I had a friend at 16 that had his own apartment with his parents not there, I mean, we'd be over there all the time.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. Any siblings?
I was the youngest of three boys. Unfortunately, both my brothers have passed. So my middle brother passed in 2006, and then my older brother passed in 2014. So.
And you said you're married? You got kids?
No, we're working on it. We're trying, but no, I have an amazing wife.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 38.
All right. How old's your wife? She'll love you. Yeah.
32.
She'll love the fact that I asked that question. She'll be like, what the hell? He asked how old I was. Okay. She's 32. You guys are trying to have kids. All right. Very good.
Yeah.
How long you said you met her in Scottsdale. How long you been married?
We're going on 5 years. This December we'll be 5 years married. And we're going on 9 years together.
So from, okay.
About 8 years together.
So from 16 to 28, you were a single dude living on his own. Man, you got a bunch of stories in there. We're gonna have to have like a separate
different podcast, buddy. That is one over a brew.
Yeah. I'm envisioning some things. Yeah. We got to talk about some of those stories. Okay. All right. Yeah. So now you said you went to Scottsdale and started a business. I mean, like how? With what funds? Walk me through. Like, is that like a service business and you just slapped up a website, or walk me through starting that?
No, I mean, I had been working. I had some money that I'd put together from like, I was doing really well in sales and mortgages before the crash and all that stuff. So it was bootstrapped. It was bootstrapped, right? So the premise behind all digital circulation was, at the time, the major daily newspapers and magazine publishers, they were charging people for print subscriptions and then giving digital away for free, right? And so the premise behind it for me was that I thought that was kind of backwards, right? That everything was kind of going digitally. So we started the company. The first thing that I did is I went and secured reseller contracts with all of the major daily newspapers and magazine publishers in the US. And we created a connected tablet program where you got a connected tab. Like if you bought a 12-month subscription to the Chicago Tribune, you'd get a device that was branded for the Chicago Tribune, right? With the Chicago Tribune newspaper application on it, and an app marketplace for advertisers that went out to the people. And we did fairly well with that company. I built it to about 55 people over the first couple of years. I was a first-time entrepreneur, didn't have a lot of great mentors at the time around it. And then one day people just stopped paying for news, with the acceleration of the internet and freely trading news and all of that. So ended up shutting that business down. And
let me stop you right there. You said we earlier. Did you have a co-founder?
No, I didn't. I was CEO and founder. I was the only one, but I had built a team of, I had a couple guys that have been working with me in sales out there that came out and started helping me with it. And it was a complete bootstrapped operation.
Was your wife, was she a customer? Was she a client? Did you meet her at the bar? What happened? How'd you meet her?
I met her through a friend of mine. And we hit it off immediately. And yeah.
Were you like, oh shit, yeah, this, okay. Immediate, like it was immediate. You're like, yeah, okay. You were interested right away.
Yeah, I was interested right away.
Okay, did you make the first move or she did?
I did.
You did. Okay.
I did.
Did she say no, or did
I always joke around that I caught her lurking in the bushes next to the windows, stalking me. But that between you and I, that's not what happened.
What was she doing at the time?
She was in the direct sales business. So she was working, she had done pretty well for herself out there. She was younger at the time, but she was in the direct sales business. Actually, when I shut down all digital circulation, I was trying to figure out what my next move was. And, I'd been traveling a lot, right? I'd been in New York and LA and Miami and Vegas and, all over the place. And, just thinking about, the experiences that you see in connected devices. Think like in the backseat of a taxi or a hotel room, right? Or, any type of connected device experience. In my opinion, all of them were unimpressive at best, right? They never thought about the end user, the customers. They never really thought about the operators who were running them. It was a means to an end. You're in the backseat of a taxi in New York. The means to an end is it's a credit card processing machine, but there's no engagement. There's no experience there, right? And I had all these tablets that I had sourced that were sitting in storage units. So we packed up all the tablets and all of our stuff, and we moved back to Denver. This was in 2015. And I started a company called Sticky Media.
Okay, now let me stop you right there. So were you married when you moved back to Denver?
No, we got married after.
But she moved with you. You said, hey, I'm going back to Denver. You coming?
Yeah, she moved with me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we moved back here in 2015. We got married in 2017.
Did she have to quit her job to follow you back?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And she helped me start Sticky Media.
Okay, so that's what I'm getting at there. So together you guys are like, okay, all digital. I'm going to shut this down. I know we're not married yet, but we're living together. I love you. You love me. Let's move back to Denver, and you can help me start a new company. And you can.
Oh yeah, and she was old school Italian family. All the kids living in the same house together. I mean, I plucked her, right? Like, I mean, she came with me. Now, her parents had sold their house of 30 years in Scottsdale. They live right next to us in Cherry Creek. Her brother's a paramedic down here at Denver General. I'm just working on her sister now.
You got the whole family, but at the time,
I got one left.
But when you went to her mom and dad at first, and you're like, yeah, we're not married yet, and I know you guys are old school Italian, probably Catholic, whatever. I'm going to take your daughter, and she's going to come to Denver with me and quit her job. And her dad was like, what?
Yeah, they were supportive. They're great people, man. Like they were supportive, and it was. I'm just very happy they're all here now, to be honest.
That's so cool. All right.
That's the best in the world.
Very cool. So she quit you guys. All right. So you got a little money in savings. You got some cash, obviously. So
we raised a little capital out here from a fund, which actually ended up being the first investment group in Edison. Sticky Media actually became Edison, right? So, we started, we had all this, we raised a little bit of capital.
How'd you raise the capital? How did you know somebody? Did you have experience raising cash?
Introductions, pounding the pavement, buddy. All right, pounding the pavement.
Okay, so this is important for the listeners, because a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs listen to our podcast. So I want you to give them some details here. Did you came into town? You're like, okay, I know some millionaires already. I know some groups. I joined some groups. How'd you do it? Give me some details.
I talked to a lot of different people, right? I mean, I started with my network. I got introductions. I started this company. I had this vision for it, and just went and pounded the pavement, right? And when I say I raised early capital, I mean, it was a couple $100,000, right? Like, it wasn't a lot. It was just enough to start executing on the strategy that I had. But it's an interesting story, right? So we raised the capital, we had these tablets, we brought in an engineer that we went to all the taxi companies in Colorado, right? So Metro, Yellow, Union, and we got contracts with them. And I was just like, look, we're going to put tablets in your cars. We're going to sell media and advertising and create an experience in there. And we're going to do a rev share, right? It'll be revenue generating for you.
All right.
And signed them all up. And then we had to figure out how to install them and wire them through the seats and into the floorboard and in the ignition switches. And I actually licensed the technology, the software to run those devices from a company called Taxi Interactive. Okay. And they were a Hong Kong-based company. And they were one of the first ones to put screens in taxi cabs in Sydney, Australia in 2006. So created a great relationship with them. And so we decked out all the taxi cabs in Colorado. Then I wanted to expand. The vision was to have a network between sports bars, medical facilities, taxis, transportation in the Denver area, and create a network for advertisers and media in those areas.
Okay.
So once we got all the taxis enrolled, I had a good buddy of mine who was a Coors beer rep, a Colorado native, old friend of mine from high school. And I called him and I was like, hey, can I jump in your car with you and go on your routes for a few weeks? Right. And so he's like, yeah. I was like, every one I sign up, I'll give you a commission. Right. So I literally would go to his house in the morning, jump in his truck, and we'd go hit all the bars. He'd do his thing. He'd say, hey, this is my buddy Nick. He wants to talk about putting screens in the bars. and they'd hand them over to me. And it was the same model, right? We were funding, putting the screens in there, and we were building an ad business. And so we built a really nice network and a really nice business that was growing. And then my co-founder is a guy named Jeremy Ostermiller. And Jeremy had founded a company in 2009 called Altitude Digital.
Was he the investor for the 200 grand?
No.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Nope. So he was the founder of a company called Altitude Digital, and we grew up together. And they built a really nice business over there. You know, in their heyday, they were the 4th largest video advertiser in the world for online websites.
Okay.
And so I built it up, and I had always trying to find a way to work with Jeremy. And so I called him one day and I was like, hey, let's go grab lunch. And so we go grab lunch. I'm walking him through my business. The point was I wanted to partner with him to help bring those advertisers into our devices, right? And Jeremy's like, look, man, he's like, I don't know if you heard, but we're merging with a company out of New York called, and I just stepped down as CEO 2 days ago. He's like, I love what you're doing. He's like, if we can own this technology, let's go do it together.
Okay.
And so, you know, went back to my investors that had everything there. And I said, look, let's roll this into Edison. It wasn't Edison at the time, but let's roll it in. Let's recapitalize the business. So we rolled it into Edison. We raised another seed round, just under $1 million. And we acquired Taxi Interactive, which was the company that we were licensing the software for the devices.
Okay.
And that was the beginning of the Edison Interactive platform and company. And that was in November of 2016.
So Edison was you and your friend that you talked about, and
Jeremy.
and the other people on the cap table were the original investors of the 200K for Sticky Media.
Correct.
Gotcha. And then you raised an additional, what'd you say, $1 million?
We raised an additional $1 million in our seed round. And then, you know, since then we've raised about 14 million.
That seed round, that $1 million, was that a PE firm? Was that angel? What was that?
It was a group here called GKG. It was local investors. They, you know, the round that went anywhere from 25 grand to our largest investor in that round was 250K.
Are those people out when you got the 14 million, or are they still in?
Oh no, they're still in. They're still
Gotcha.
in. You know,
Gotcha.
we did that on a convertible note. And then 6 months later is when we got brought into one of our largest products, which is Shark Experience presented by Verizon. And Shark Experience presented by Verizon is a partnership between Verizon, Club Car, who's the largest manufacturer of golf cars, Greg Norman, a professional golfer who's one of our largest investors, and Edison.
Can you get him to send me some free shirts now that you've been on the podcast? 'Cause I like those shirts.
Yeah, I'll work on it, bud. So anyway, that was about 4 or 5 months after we closed our seed round. Like, things moved very quickly here. And so we raised the money from Greg and his business partner, David Chesler. We started deploying the screens in the golf cars. Now we've got about 40,000 screens in golf cars in the US with Bluetooth speakers and dynamic yardage and content and media. And that was really the precipice of what spurred us into being a content management system for connected devices in all types of industries.
What percentage of penetration do you have in golf carts? Like, are you still got a long way to go? You still got?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
we're working on about 400 golf courses right now.
Okay.
About 40,000. We're growing rapidly. You know, the product really came to fruition about 2.5, 3 years ago.
Okay.
So Club Cars, the sales force, and our partner that installs the screens at their facilities on the golf cars in Augusta, Georgia. And it's just a great product. It's a great partnership. And, you know, we've had a lot of success with it, and it continues to grow. Is
your co-founder the CEO and you're the CRO? Is that the relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. And now you guys have raised enough cash now to where I'm assuming that technically you've given up, quote, control of the cap table, so to speak, probably, because you've raised 14 million, or is that true? Or can you share that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we were right there, right? But you know, in my opinion, it's all about the people. You know, like, I mean, Jeremy and I have been very, very, very fortunate. I mean, we have phenomenal investors who also happen. I mean, that, you know, our two largest investors, Greg and David, are the founders of Shark Experience. So not only are they our investors, right, but we are also the product and the, you know, the advertising sales arm and the monetization behind Shark. So, you know, it's as they grow, we grow with it. And they've been just phenomenal investors across the board that have continued to open up doors. And I mean, we could not be happier with the investors that we have inside of Edison. It's been a great experience.
Can you tell Greg the reason I like his shirts is because if you're 50 and you got a little belly going on, like a little slight belly, his shirts do a good job of hiding that. I like that.
Absolutely.
I like that. Okay. Right now is probably a good time. Why don't you give the listeners kind of the elevator pitch for Edison Interactive as it is today? Go for it.
Yeah. So Edison Interactive is a content management system for connected device networks in golf cars, rental cars, hospitality, healthcare. So, our focus as a company is on digital transformation through connected device technology. So if you look at the industries where we've made investments and we have large scale, device networks in play, it's been highly industries that have not really seen that digital transformation, right? That have not adapted from a technology perspective to give consumers the type of experience that they're used to with this, right? With the mobile phones.
Okay.
And so from golf, right? I mean, we have media, we're doing live content and media on golf cars and really, really disrupting that industry with Shark Experience. And then, we moved into rental cars. We have Avis Budget Group is a phenomenal partner of ours. And, we have ancillary revenue products at all of their airport and local market locations. And then it's grown into tracking the connected devices inside the vehicles for telematics and, bring your own device content experiences. And now our primary focus as a company right now is we are embarking on large scale deployments in the hospitality industry for in-room entertainment.
Okay.
And it's just a perfect example of what our precipice was, right? Is that when we got involved in this hospitality industry, those televisions were making a lot of money for a lot of people, but they weren't making money for the hotel operators. It was a cost center, right? And on top of that, from a consumer perspective, it was channel up, channel down, right? You buy your movies, you watch your TV, that's it. We look at that as an audience and a captive experience to be able to drive feature sets, drive value to those end consumers while driving revenue and driving value to the hotel operators, right?
I see.
And so we take a different approach and we look at these screen networks in a completely different way. And so now we're embarking on the future, right? We're in the process of moving our whole platform to mobile edge computing, right? We're getting ready for 5G. We're coming up, like, for instance, some examples in golf, right? When we're in the mobile edge computing, it's digital caddies, real-time wind speeds, right? How do you help really enrich and enhance that golfer's experience from the edge of the network?
Okay. And and your technology, is it super secret, patented, special sauce? Nobody else can get it, or where are we at with that? And what does that look like when you think about the competition?
So when I think about the competition of who, because we have competitors in golf, we have competitors in rental car, we have competitors in hospitality, right?
All right.
A lot of times these companies have been incumbents for years and years and years, right? So they're built on, hard servers that are in the basements of these hospitality properties, right? Like, so when we see that these industries haven't really evolved from a technology perspective, we look at that as opportunity. We're a cloud-based solution on mobile edge computing on the edge of the database with content partnerships and all of the advertising agencies and brands that can come with us to turn those cost centers into profit centers and enrich those experiences.
Do you hope to sell this thing? Or do you have a whiteboarded plan? When you get to this number, we're going to pitch it and et cetera, or right now you're just having fun building it?
Well, number one, it's, I'm living my professional dream every day, man. I mean, this is a fun company to run. We have a tremendous group of highly talented, brilliant, fun people. We are having discussions internally with investors, and, we have some goals and some markers. But no, right now we're focused on our mission right now, man. And we're having a blast doing it.
Well, okay. That's great. All right. So I think what I heard you say is, hey, look, if the check's big enough, we're always for sale. It depends on everything. Depends on the size of the check. Okay. Got it. All right. Very good. Okay. And are you in another raise, or you're good for now? You're not in the middle of another cash raise right now, or?
not in the middle of a cash raise right now. You know, the company has seen tremendous growth. You know, last year we were Inc. 5000, number 144 in the country. We're number 4 in Colorado. We've grown almost 4,000% over the past 3 years. So, right, we're
Wow.
being very calculated about.
Must have something to do with the chief revenue officer.
Oh no, man, I can't take that credit. We have a great team of people here, man. But
are you in scale up mode to where you're burning cash, or you're actually making money?
Well, we're profitable, but now that we're embarking on some of these new industries, we're in real scale up mode, which is exciting times.
Which is why you raised the 14 million, because you're using some of that to scale.
Yeah, well, that's been the 14 million since we started the company. $9.5 million of that was in debt that we never touched, right? So
I see.
That's sitting out there.
Oh.
Right. So no, we're lean and mean, man. We're lean and mean, and we focus on, building great partnerships with great companies that are looking to innovate with us.
Now, you strike me as the type of guy, you love to hustle, you love to get after it, you love to close deals, you love to start something, you love to build something. I feel that on you, right? Yeah, if it gets like too big with like 400 employees where you're kind of just going through the motions, I think Nick gets bored, and then he's like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to do something else. No? Is that?
No, this is my baby, man. I've worked as an entrepreneur for years and years and years to get to this point, right? I've had a lot of failures. I've had a lot of successes, been through the ringer in a number of different ways. And what we have here at Edison is special. The group, the technology, the partners, the investors, we're on something special here, man.
Okay, if you had to give some advice to an aspiring entrepreneur that hasn't had the balls to start something yet, but they want to, and I know we could do a whole show on that, but if you wanted to just give them a couple of tips to haven't started, but they're thinking about it, what would you say?
I would say it's how you look at it, right? I mean, a quote that was given to me from one of my mentors: think big, start small, scale fast, right? And you got to think massively. You have to think about, like, in my opinion, world-changing stuff to get a group of employees and investors and partners to really buy into the mission. And you got to think big, but you got to start small, right? You got to perfect the product. You got to find the product market fit. You got to make tweaks, right? I mean, the amount of tweaks that we've made to our platform and our business since we've started it is tremendous, right? Because we've looked for opportunity and we've looked for where we can add value. And but then once the product gets to a point where it's there, then you build a moat around the business and you scale as fast as you can. That's number one. Number two, it's all about the people, man. I mean, I've been in businesses by myself. I've been in businesses without mentors. I've been in businesses that are tough that way, right? And you have to have the right people around you. You have to surround yourself with strong leaders who are smarter than you, who've been there, right? Who've been through the ringer, who've been through the entrepreneurial, ringer, and can help steer you in the right direction and help provide valuable feedback for you.
One of the things you mentioned there, besides the fact that people are critical if you really want to scale, but secondly, you mentioned pivoting there a few times and tweaking as you move along. It is, I think, for the aspiring entrepreneur that's listening, it's very important for you to understand that whatever original whiteboard plan you have, there's probably a 99% chance that you're going to make changes and you're going to turn left when you thought you were going to turn right, and the consumer will tell you what direction that you need to go, which you weren't planning on.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, I think that's very, very important. How about this?
And look, you got to look for opportunities. You got to look where you can add value, right? And when we started this business, when our original plan, when we started this business, when we acquired Taxi Interactive, we inherited a bunch of third-party media companies all over the world that were licensing the technology, right? Kenya, Dubai, South Africa, right? That were putting screens in Ubers, Lyfts, and taxis, and then creating their own little media companies in those markets. And that was our original strategy. Our original strategy was to utilize our relationships that we had in Uber and Lyft and Black Cars to be able to create this in-ride rideshare experience, and go from there, right? And when we went and we needed a telco partner, and so we put out RFPs. I mean, we had big vision for it, man. And we put out RFPs with all the majors, and Verizon was the one that got really aggressive. And it turns out because they had a need, right? They had struck this partnership, Shark Experience, and they were having some issues with their tech. So they came to us and said, hey, can you guys step in here, right? And they introduced us to Greg Norman, who made the investment, and we became Shark Experience, right? Shark Experience presented by Verizon. And from there, our partnership with Verizon, everybody has continued to grow. But I mean, that was never our strategy, right? But it was exactly. A massive opportunity, and we tweaked it. We made our system work in golf cars. And then, we added on bolt-ons to the platform to be able to go in rental cars and telematics. And now we're a connected device platform that can control everything from a phone to a tablet to a connected TV to telematics units, IoT. Anywhere you want to put a content and a custom experience, we can do now, but that's not how it started.
On the people piece, what advice would you give the listeners on selecting people early on during startup phase? Besides looking at their experience and matching the technical skill set needed, how do you decide what personality and what style kind of fits the culture you want to build? Do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah. So are you talking about from an employee perspective? Are you talking about from a partner?
Yeah.
From an employee perspective?
Yeah. Employee. Yep.
Yeah. So, Jeremy and I are both grew up in Aurora, right? So, we kind of both have that gritty, scrappy, relentless type personalities that we just go after what we want, right? But we put a focus on trying to find people that fit our culture, because at the end of the day, right, they're in the office with us every day. Well, most days with all this stuff that's happened, but it's people that you have to enjoy working with, but it's also people who constantly seek creative solutions to complex problems. I mean, we're solving some very complex issues here. So we look for creativity, we look for grittiness, we look for people that are committed. And, in a lot of conversations that you can have with people, you can uncover some of those things, but you also got to get a little lucky, right?
It does require a little bit of luck, and you can bring people along that may not be fully qualified, but maybe they fit the kind of style and culture you're looking for. And then you can train them up how you want to. I appreciate you sharing that. By the way, for the listeners, I know we're getting a little drag on our internet here. That's because it's freaking snowing outside. And anytime it snows at my house, for whatever reason, the internet drags a little bit. But I think we're okay. Let's keep going with it. Okay, very good. I appreciate you sharing all of that, Nick, with me. Thank you. Let me ask you about some outside the lines questions, kind of worldly topics. What have you done with COVID? What did you guys do? Did you just let everybody work from home? Did you make them all wear masks? Did you make them get vaccinated? Did you tell them, hey, do whatever you want? What'd you guys do over there?
Yeah. So, number one, right, we made a commitment to our team up front that whatever they were comfortable, right? Now, this was after the whole shutdowns when everybody was locked in their houses, right? But we wanted people to be comfortable with what they want. If you want to come to the office and you want to wear a mask, do that, right? And we followed guidelines, and we've done things the right way. But we made a commitment to our people up front that we were going completely transparent, complete open books. We'd hold monthly, sometimes weekly town halls where the employees could ask Jeremy and I any questions they want. Full open book on financials, strategy, right? I mean, with so much unrest and uneasiness, right? I mean, that was a difficult time for people, right? So we wanted to make sure that people knew they were secure in their positions, that we were striving towards the same mission, that we just had another little speed bump we had to get over. So we just went completely transparent and completely open book, and just, built off of the trust that we've had with our employees. And I think that it paid off. We grew 100% during 2020. 110%, a lot of that, people were golfing, right? I mean, the only thing they could really do was go get out on a golf course. So golf really took off, and, but other parts of our business were hurt. So, it's really just, we tried to focus on understanding what the unique circumstances that our partners and our clients needed. And we made a lot of tweaks during that time that have paid to be very fruitful for us.
What do you think about remote workers? Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you like a hybrid? What's your stance on that?
I mean, if you would have asked me this question before COVID, I would have told you that I want everybody in the office, right? I mean, I love the loud, the culture, right? Everybody, running around, high five and working through issues together. Like I love that. But, COVID has changed that for me a little bit. I mean, I still want all of our people to be here if they want to be here, but we also have to understand that there's sensitivities and that people aren't all comfortable with that. So we don't force that on them. So we have a core group of people that it kind of switches out. I'd say on average, our people in the office 2 to 4 days a week, 2 to 3 days a week. And they kind of rotate and they come in and we have meetings and all of that. And other than that, they're working remote.
Okay. Very good. Social media. I want to ask you about that. I mean, you're very active on marketing, not only the business, but just staying present in social media. What are your thoughts on CEOs or founders speaking out aggressively on specific hot topics on social media, taking sides on whatever hot button there is for the month? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you'll never catch me doing that, right? I mean, but it's to each their own, right? I mean, I feel like if somebody feels that strongly about a topic one way or the other, we're in America. They have the right to be able to address it, right? But I tend to steer very away from those hot topics, right? I mean, I obviously have my own opinions on them. They're just things I don't like to discuss with everybody, right? So no, I mean, I support anybody with whatever they want to post on there. I hope they go through and think about potential repercussions for doing so, because there are potential repercussions for people doing that from a number of different viewpoints, right? But yeah, you won't catch me interacting with any hot topics on social media.
I think what I heard you say in summary is, hey, I'm a big First Amendment guy. I believe in everybody's right to say whatever they want, but I'm careful as a CEO not to make too many waves. That's what I hear you saying. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Can I follow that up then with a question and say, then how do you feel? And if you do believe in the whole right to say whatever you want, how do you feel about this censorship and cancel culture and Facebook and Twitter and Google wiping people out if they say something that doesn't fit their narrative? What are your
I think it's brutal.
thoughts?
I think it's brutal, right? I mean, I lived in China for quite some time, right? And that's a very, very real thing there. And I'm not saying that the U.S. is getting there, but there's no reason you should be censoring anybody, in my opinion, right? We're in the United States of America. It's the First Amendment. Like, just because somebody doesn't like what somebody has to say, right? Then there should never be any censorship, in my opinion. It's a dangerous, slippery slope, in my opinion.
I appreciate your very clear and direct answer on that. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it. Okay, very good. Thank you. I want to ask you a couple of wrap-up questions here.
Yeah.
And by the way, for the listeners, let me just get this in here. If they want to study Edison, it is edisoninteractive.com. You can go there. I'm sure there's like a contact sheet or work with us. There's a work with us button. I like that. Okay. Is that the best thing for anybody listening to do that wants to get a hold of you guys?
Yeah. Follow our journey. Go edisoninteractive.com. Our marketing team is very active on social media and keeping up with our journey. And Edison Interactive on LinkedIn. We're very active on Facebook, Instagram. But yeah, go to our website.
Buddy, talk about you're very active on LinkedIn. In fact, you guys got the marketing going on.
We got talented people over there. Yeah.
Well, you know what's going to happen now that you've been on the Riderflex podcast, you're going to explode to like 200,000 followers.
There we go. Absolutely.
A couple of final questions here for you. You said you were 38, right? 38.
Yep.
You've been on your own. You've been an entrepreneur since you were 16, basically. Kinda. Right. I mean, you've been hustling since you were 16. You strike me as the type of guy that could walk into any bar, anywhere, and make friends with whoever's there. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's accurate, man. Tough times lead a number of different ways, right? So, I learned very early on that, if you focus on the negativity of stuff, it just doesn't get you anywhere but the wrong place, right? So I've always put a very strong focus on keeping track of the positive things in my life and keeping positive goals in front of me and surrounding myself with good people. So, but yeah.
I love that. By the way, on that topic, I read this the other day, so this is not my quote, but somebody said, and I'm not going to say it exactly right, but they were saying, all the minutes that you focus on a negative thing on social media where you're attacking somebody because of a negative thing, those are wasted minutes that could have been spent on something positive to build your own self up, right?
Absolutely.
You know, if you could call your 16-year-old self, though, based on what you've learned so far, if you could call that 16-year-old young man that was having a party in the apartment with all the chicks over there, if you could call him and say anything, what would you tell him now?
That's a great question, man. I mean, I'd have to, I haven't really thought about that, but I would probably tell myself to get started, right? And get started sooner. I mean, I got started pretty young, but I would advise myself to find the right people that you strive to be, find them sooner, right? And because it was never something that I was really looking for. I wasn't looking for mentors. I wasn't, right. I was a young, cocky kid. I thought I could do it all on my own. And the truth of the matter is that when you get good people around you and you do the right things, it escalates and it elevates to a whole nother level. So I would probably tell myself to look for the people sooner.
Okay, very good. Well, you had to be a little bit cocky because it was a self-defense mechanism because you were so young and you were on your own. You had to kind of have that shield a little bit back then, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You strike me as a little more humble now. That's because you got some scars on your back from some of the early stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, man. I think so.
Last question. If you could put your core purpose in life, quote, core purpose in quotes, if you could put that into a sentence, what would that sound like right now?
To be honest with you, man, I would say that my core purpose is to just serve our incredible team of dedicated employees in our pursuit of digital transformation. The people that I have the opportunity to work with on a daily basis motivate me in ways that I never could have imagined, right? So look, at the end of the day, I'm living my professional dream, and every single day I get to go to work with people that I respect and have a tremendous amount of reverence with. So it's very easy for me to jump out of bed with that fire in my belly and really go serve those people and do everything I can to help push them forward as well.
That wasn't deep enough. That wasn't deep enough for me, Nick. I'll talk about, let me go a little deeper there. Why are you waking up every day on this planet? What's the long-term goal for you as a person on this blue ball we're floating around on?
Complete freedom is my ultimate that I strive for. Is complete freedom from anything and everything, right? Whether that be financial, whether that be, anything, right? Complete freedom with the people that I love and care about is what I strive for.
Ooh, I like that. That is a good
enough
answer
for you.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Let's stop right there on that one. Nick, thank you so much for being on the Riderflex podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. It's been great chatting with you.